Hello, my friends. Andy coming to you live from Orange County, California. It is 7 o'clock and almost didn't come to the show because I'm busy watching worship happening in Seattle right now. There's 4,000 people watching on this Facebook page. Apparently, they just announced 1.7 million people are watching in Pakistan. And apparently, the same band was in Sacramento and had worship in the streets of Sacramento where 12,000 people were there on the streets of Sacramento. I don't know how many people right now are in Seattle, but there's at least a couple thousand from what I could tell. It's hard to tell because it's a little bit blurry, but I was kind of all teared up. I don't know what's going on with my camera. It's driving me crazy because it is blurry, but the autofocus is off. So I'm not sure what's happening. It is, see that? Autofocus is turned off. I don't know why I say that. So I'm sorry. But this is the way we're going to have to live with it today because I've tried everything to get it to stop other than turn the computer off and turn it back on. All right, my friends. So this is, I know I always say this. This is going to be a short live because I want to be very specific on what I'm talking about. I've mentioned it before in other videos and that kind of stuff, but I want to just be very clear because there's these incidents that they're just going to continue to occur no matter what it is we do. As long as there's law enforcement on the streets battling with suspects who choose to fight, again, they're making a choice to fight, we're going to be dealing with this for a long time. So before I go forward, I want to talk about our sponsors really quick. And we want to make sure to talk about Happy Coffee. Today's happycoffee.com. It is a great product if you are looking for something that just boosts your energy and goodness in your life. And it's called Happy Coffee for a reason because it has it deals with your happy hormones, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. Did I miss one? There was one other one in there. And they have these great products. They have Zest, which is lemonade. They got coffee, hence the name happycoffee.com. And there's another Zest, and there's a Georgia Peach. All great products. I'm almost done with my lemonade. And then they have a brand new product called Elevate Max Plus. It is an amazing product. Gives me, again, it is so good. I could go on, but my video will last too long. But this is brand new. They call it magic in a capsule for a reason. It is life-changing. It is fantastic. If you want energy, Red Bull, laugh at Red Bull. Rockstar, laugh at nothing. This is a good, healthy energy. And it clears the cloud from your brain. It is amazing, and it has an appetite suppressant to the point where you have to set a reminder to eat because the appetite suppressant is so good. And then we have Today's CBD oil. You go to Today's CBD. This is a different company. This is Viseo. Viseo makes the best CBD on the planet. You go to today'scbdoil.com to get there. It is one of the only products in regard to CBD that has a delivery system. This has liposome technology. It is patented, and it is amazing. If you want other products from Viseo, which are wellness products like this great skincare product, which is scientifically proven to turn back the hands of time, then you're going to want to go to today'sviseo.com. So there's two websites for Viseo. One's for the CBD oil. The other one's for the other products. So go to each one of those. All right. So we're going to be talking about police work just a little bit. If you don't know, I'm 21 years with Anaheim Police Department. I've been training law enforcement in the use of force for a few decades. I hate to say that, but yeah, for a few decades, all over the world, teaching them how to do it well, how to do it lawfully, how to do it within reason, understanding reasonable force, teaching people, that there has to be an escalation of force. And then if you're trying to reduce the force you have to use, you have to have a way of bringing the situation down by controlling the situation, hopefully with words and not physicality. Anyway, there's a lot to it. Right. And so we're going to be dealing with that. But we live, obviously, everybody knows, this is no secret, in a very strange world at this time. We have things like we know that lockdowns don't work. Right. We know that. Even the people that are denying it, politicians, they even know lockdowns don't work. Because what? Because the most lockdown cities and states in our country and even in other countries, those areas where the lockdown was the highest in regard to locking things down, had the most outbreaks, had the most deaths. We know that masks don't work because for the same reason. The places that had the most restrictions on masks, where you had to wear them when you were driving, perhaps, in those locations, you had the highest numbers of outbreaks and deaths. We know that children going to school has not caused a spike in infections anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. Let me repeat that. Anywhere in the world. When kids go to school, it is not proven. Kids, I'm talking about kids, elementary school, junior high. Sorry, I have an itch. Preschool. There's no correlation with there being a spike. We know there are no incidents regarding recorded of children giving the virus to adults or teachers in any of those situations. There is not one recorded incident that we have in the entire world where children have given COVID-19 to an adult. We know that, but yet schools are closed. We have to close them. We're going to kill people. Teachers unions, I'm not going to school because the children are going to kill people. No, well, it's not happening. It's a myth. Democrats fund the rioters, encourage the rioters, bail out the arrested rioters, and blame Trump for the rioting. How is that? That's a crazy world, right? You got a faction of this country who, again, I'm just going to say, they fund them, they encourage them, and they bail them out when they get arrested, yet it's Donald Trump's fault for the rioting. Democrats demonize first responders and military on camera. They're on camera saying these are evil people. They are harming peaceful protesters. They're criminals. They are the enemy of the people, people have said, including Nancy Pelosi. And that is nothing. No. Well, they can say whatever they want about the military. They can hate the military. They can hate law enforcement. They can hate first responders. And they're demonizing them, and don't need to listen to them. As a matter of fact, throw crap at them, throw urine on them, blind them with lasers, throw bricks at them, throw trash can lids at them, shoot fireworks at them, try to catch them in fire inside a building. That's okay. But then they have a story, which is a made-up story, that Trump hates the military, and that is every news network. It's a made-up story, and that is headlines on every magazine and newspaper. It's a made-up story, and it is the biggest story for the last 2 or 3 days. But when Democrats actually say on camera that the first responders military are horrible people, nothing, no big deal. And so we live in a very strange world. So when we get into law enforcement, of course, when we the public see police using force against a criminal suspect, a rapist, right, a forger, a former violent criminal who put a gun against a pregnant woman's stomach and threatened to kill the baby if she didn't give him what he wanted. A suspect who shoots a taser at a cop as he's fleeing and got done fighting with 2 cops and overcame the arrest while fighting with 2 cops, and then runs and then shoots at the cops with his own taser, and he gets shot. When we see these things, the first, oh my gosh, people go crazy. Most of us law-abiding citizens go, well, why did he resist? What? The cops told him to stop fighting. Why didn't he stop fighting? They have a gun pointed at him. Why did he run and try to go get a weapon out of his car? Most common sense people understand that, right? Most Americans understand, hey, dipwad, why did you resist and fight? Of course, bad things happen when you resist and fight and you go for a weapon. That is going to happen every time. Right, that's what most people think, but it's on camera, and so anybody can put their own narrative, including Joe Biden, can completely disregard that an investigation needs to be done to find out what are the true facts and what happened in the case. He jumps right out within a couple hours after it occurred and says that it's excessive use of force, and says the cops needs to be fired and arrested and charged with murder or whatever. He can say all these things, right? And you're just like, what is going on in our world? Why do we have this one group of people who just everything the police do is horrible and they need to be eliminated? They need to be defunded and dismantled, regardless of their handling of thousands of calls a day. And one time where they have to use force, the suspect who fought, resisted going for a weapon, swallowed fentanyl, which caused his functionality, his brain function, even his pain tolerance to combat the cops. In those instances, even when that happens, it's the cop's fault that all that happened, right? It is a very, very odd thing. Hey, Amy, nice to see you. Carol says, "Oh, bummer, she might be asleep." Carol, are you asleep or are you awake? Did you stay awake for this thing? And so this is very odd. I'm going to talk about the thing that happened in Rochester, New York. I think it's Rochester, New York, and that is that I guess it happened a few weeks ago, where you have a guy on PCP is put as a spit hood put on him, and he ends up dying. Now, I've told you, even prior to this happening, I've mentioned it and talked about it, that I've had, I can't tell you, I've maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6. Trying to think. Anaheim Stadium. There's 3 at Anaheim Stadium during 3 of them at Anaheim Stadium during a concert. Not The Walking Dead. What's the name of the band? Something Dead. Grateful Dead concert. Some of the most heavily intoxicated and medicated people I've ever seen in my entire life. Some of them were just running around naked, right? Women running around naked, jumping off of things and breaking their legs. There was this thing about getting naked. PCP makes people shed their clothes because they get warm apparently, and they shed their clothes. Happens a lot, right? And so I've dealt with a lot of people on PCP. Here's the problem. Again, not always, quite often the problem is you have commentators, politicians, social justice warriors who make claims and decide that they are going to speak about something they know nothing about and ever been involved in. If you've never fought a person on PCP, you will never have any idea what it's like to fight with a person on PCP. The one I've talked about, I've had 2 people die on me that have been on PCP in the process of arresting and transporting them to jail twice. One guy, I've talked about this story, he actually walked through a plate glass window and had cuts and shards of glass stuck in his body while I was having to fight with him with another cop. And it was impossible. It was an impossible situation because none of the normal arm bars and pain constraints that you would use on somebody works because they have no pain. It is a tranquilizer. It is a animal tranquilizer, an elephant tranquilizer, to be exact. And when you take something that's an elephant tranquilizer, which the guy in Rochester, New York also had in his system, it is an impossible situation. Another common thing is they spit on you. They just huck these loogies and they spit and spit and spit. And even on the best days when we didn't have AIDS and when we didn't have a big deal with hepatitis, and now COVID-19, being spit on was just sometimes part of the job. We didn't always have a partition that was a glass partition behind us. It used to be a cage. And we went from the cage to the plexiglass because of people spitting on us while we were driving them back to the jail, right? They're handcuffed back there and they're spitting on the back of our head. And we're having to drive to the jail with a loogie hanging from the back of our head. And that was that's how we worked. It was crazy, right? But we lived with it. And that was before. Again, there was a big issue with all these diseases. Now, when cops started to get hepatitis, and then AIDS came around, and then other diseases like H1N1 and SARS and all these kinds of things, you go, you know what? We need to protect the cops a little bit better, and we need to put up a plexiglass, and there's like these 3 dots, so you could talk to the guy and get him, what's your name, what's your date of birth, what's your blah blah blah, get all their information for the report you're going to be filling out. And so we had to have a way of, and so then they would kind of lean forward and try to spit through those holes. So then we would strap them to the seat so they couldn't get to the holes and spit, right? And so these things evolve over time, right? One of the things that evolved that I didn't have access to was a spit hood. And a spit hood is a necessary part of the equipment when you're arresting somebody that's on either methamphetamine, heroin, has having a big rush, a big narcotic event, and especially PCP. PCP is, again, a drug like no other drug that I know of when it's come to trying to arrest somebody that's on it. It is nearly an impossibility. I've punched them. I've hit them with a flashlight. I hit them with a nightstick. I had nunchucks. I used nunchucks to twist around their hand and then bend their arms backwards. And again, you would even break bones and break stuff. and they would still fight with a broken arm, like they swinging at you. And there's no pain. They're not screaming in pain. They're not stopping because of the pain. Nothing's working. And so, hence the title of my event here, that police work can be ugly to the viewer, is just simply a fact. Law enforcement, and I've talked about this before, that maybe in some cases, I've said, maybe cameras are not the solution. Now, I know cameras have helped resolve claims of abuse from cops, and it shows there was no abuse. It's also helped with that somebody said, well, the guy, the cop tried to proposition me during the car stop, and he told me what a good-looking girl I was, and that if I had sex with him, then he wouldn't give me a ticket. It's resolved issues like that, and also it's convicted cops for doing such things. And so there is a place for it, but there's also this negativity. Most doctors would never agree to have a body cam. Now, there's cameras inside of the operating rooms, but it's only for their purposes. But they would never have. Because I tried to take video in the hospital of each one of my children being birthed at the time, and they said you can't take video of the birth. The reason being is because they don't want evidence of them making a mistake. Taking, I don't know if it was a forceps. I don't know what it's called. That they have to pull the kid out with these forceps, and then you get the face like Sylvester Stallone because it was used improperly, which I think is a fact. I'm pretty sure that's true, because that's why he has a little bit of a shifty face. If they, don't cut something in the right way, or accidentally cut something, or leave something inside you after the operation, which also occurs, that they don't want any video evidence that can be used against them in court. Sometimes video cameras aren't allowed in courtrooms because they don't want people to see what's happening in the courtroom. They had to sue, and there had to be there has to be a ruling on whether the cameras are on and stuff like that. And now it's actually more common, but not any. Would you want to be recorded? We should. Mandate, if politicians are going to mandate that cameras need to be on every police officer when they do their job, then a camera should possibly be on every politician when they go into their private meetings, during their daily life. Look what happens when you see Pelosi on camera, right? You see ugly things, right? She's walking around with her hair all unmasked, right? Obviously she's better masked, but she's walking through the hair salon, and you see bad things. She's on camera. You see her do something bad. Now you can bet that she's going to now make sure that whenever she's doing anything in her private, that there's not going to be a camera around. Why? Because some things look bad, and there's no way around it. And I'm telling you right now, if you don't understand, if you've not watched enough cop shows to understand, when cops are battling with a suspect, it is not pretty. And it's going to look bad. And if you're viewing it from one side of a position on if cops are evil or good, you're going to look at it as evil, right? If your propensity is to think cops are evil, you're going to find the evil in the video, always, right? They ignore the fact that the escalation of force in the Blake shooting, where he was shot 7 times, was justified. Based on what we know now, that there was a weapon in the car that he was going for, that he was leaning down, not going to sit in. He wasn't going in to look at his children that were in the back. If he was doing that, looking at, hey, children, it's okay, I'm being arrested, which they try to say, right? I've heard them say that he was shot because he went to check on his children. I've heard that. Now, did he walk over there, open the door, and then, hey, children, and then have his hands up and say, I just want you to let you know, the cops are fine, they're going to arrest me. Don't worry, I'm going to jail. Right? He did. No. Did he do that? No. Did he get in the car like he was going to sit down? No, that did not happen. You can see it on the video. What did he do? He leaned down into the car in an action that everybody on the planet, even the people that don't believe it, even his dad, even his mom, who are now claiming the cops need to be murdered or need to be hung, that he was leaning down to get something out of the car, namely a knife that he admitted to being inside the vehicle. And of course he was shot. Of course he was. Because he fought them all down the other way. When the guns are pointed at him, he didn't stop, and he went in there to retrieve a gun. When we're talking about the New York thing, in regard to the gentleman on PCP, that he was having a health issue. Yes, he was, because he was on PCP. And of course, it's a health issue when you're on PCP. The problem with PCP, it turns them into a superhuman with superhuman strength. and superhuman ability to resist any kind of pain compliance. It doesn't exist. There is no pain compliance on somebody with PCP, and they spit on you. And all this screaming about masks, and now you're mad because they put a mask on them, right? They're all just yelling like, "You must wear a mask." I'm watching this this worship here that's on right now. Right? It's still live on my phone. I was in tears before I came. I had to kind of fix myself up so that I could come back on camera. It's just amazing to watch the thousands of people there in Seattle praising God, worshiping God of all colors, of men and women and children, all in the streets. It's refreshing to see a whole bunch of people in the streets not looting and not tearing down the building and lighting it on fire. That is what's refreshing to see this. And they're praising God and singing and having a great time. Right? That is different than anything else I've seen. But back to my point. But you have a guy that has superpowers, and you have to put a mask on him, right? Especially in the era of hepatitis. I'm going to go through them again. Hepatitis, AIDS, H1N1, SARS, COVID-19. They spit on you. Do you not understand what is happening here? He is naked. Naked. A clear indication that he's on PCP. These protesters all sitting naked, they're silly, all right, and put a mask on because they don't have superpowers. They don't have super resistant. They don't have super I don't feel pain. They don't have anything. They're sitting there peacefully, right, with little ding, with little halos over the top of their head, and it is simply not the same. You're portraying something there that is not like fighting somebody that's on PCP. I am telling you, I am sorry, kinda, but I am sorry that it's not pretty when we're arresting somebody that's on PCP, methamphetamine, and heroin, to name a few, Oxycontin if they're overdosing. It will never, ever look pretty. Ever. Fentanyl is another one. Sorry about that. I completely forgot about fentanyl. That when you're arresting George Floyd, who I have said it's wrong what the cop did, I'm saying that it's not as nearly as bad as I thought it was. It is wrong what he did, and I'm sorry, but it's not nearly as bad as I thought it was because he had a dime bag of fentanyl in his mouth that he swallowed. It turns you into a different kind of human being. He surely could be a nice guy, this robber, this former convicted criminal robbery suspect who put a gun to a pregnant woman's stomach. He could have just been having a bad day and been past all the other criminal things that he'd done in his life, all the other 8 or 9 things that he had been convicted of that sent him to prison. This fine young man or old man, whatever you want to say, I don't even know how old he was, 30, 40 years old, but once you get that fentanyl in your system, once you get PCP in your system, once you get methamphetamine, all these things in your system, it is not going to be pretty. And I'm sorry to tell you that. When you are a rapist like the Blake guy who has been in prison before, I think he's been a prior convicted felon, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to tell you that right now. But we know that he has an arrest warrant out for his arrest. We know he has prior domestic violence charges filed against him. We know that he is a rapist. We know that he's trying to steal a car, right? So we know that he's a violent criminal. They knew previously that he had a history of carrying weapons. The cops did. The person, the suspect, Blake, the rape was one aspect of it, is that he stuck his fingers in the vagina of his victim and then pulled him out and smelled him and said, "You've been with other men." Right? Does that seem like a normal, sane human being to you? Who's that's just a saint? You take all that. The next step is that they're trying to arrest him. He fights with the police officers and resists arrest. They tase him twice. He fights off the taser. He gets up and they're trying to grab him and grab his shirt. They got guns pointed at him. He's going to a vehicle that has a weapon in it. All of that matters. None of it is pretty. Ever is it pretty. Especially when cops are kind of losing. They're trying to go, what the hell? Just understand that people that either have been to prison before and now are faced with the possibility of going back to prison are going to fight harder than somebody that's never been arrested before. I can tell you because I've done it for years. I fought with plenty of suspects. I've been in a shooting with suspects who do not want to go back to prison. I've served search warrants. We've kicked open doors. I've been on the SWAT team where the house was burning down because the guy set a fire inside. and sent incendiary devices inside as we entered and try to blow things up and try to blow us up as we're entering. When somebody does not want to go to prison, they do crazy things. If you add PCP, fentanyl, methamphetamine, any cocaine, any one of the major drugs, you now have an increased problem with your suspect. That in many times they don't feel pain, they don't fear, they will fight to the end like crazy animals. And we as police officers, there's no way of negotiating that because we know on camera, hey, we're going to do this in a nice way and we're going to do it. No, it is not pretty. It will never be pretty. I hate to tell you, the way to avoid an untimely death at the hands of police officers in 99.9% of the cases is not to resist. It's a simple solution, right? Hey, go ahead. Somebody has an interesting question. I hope it's interesting. Dark Sage 917. 9117. Is there two ones there? My eyeballs tend to take a one and separate them sometimes. I'm not sure why. But go ahead, give me an interesting. Oh, wow, that's a long one. Let's see. Covers my face. I serve on my local town council in Pennsylvania. For 30 years, I have been an independent in a town full of Democrats and Republicans. And this year, I face many people who want a return to the status quo. They want the two-party system to always be, and I face the possibility of losing as an independent candidate running for re-election. How should I go about running with this whole COVID shutdown? How can I get my message out to the town and community when we cannot go outside? Pennsylvania is completely shut down. You cannot go outside. Is that true? Wow, I thought California was bad because we are shut down here, but we go outside. We go to church at 3,000 people each service at our church here in California, and churches are not allowed to gather. But if you're trying to not be that type of politician where you're not bucking the system, that kind of stuff, you do what I'm doing, right? I will share with you something. You don't have to do this, but I'm just sharing you what I have here. This isn't an opportunity for me to sell you something. I'm just telling you what I'm using right now is something called StreamYard, and you get there by going to getstreamyard.live. Go to getstreamyard.live. You go there, sign up for this program that I'm doing where you begin to speak out using several different platforms. If you can afford it, get the pro plan, and that allows you to go live on 8 different locations all at the same time. I'm live right now on 5 different Facebook pages. I'm live on YouTube, I'm live on Twitter, and I'm live on Twitch. Obviously, you were on, I think you answered me your question. You're on Twitch. And so from Twitch, you're able to see this, right? And so I'm broadcasting on Twitch. And so that is the way to get you begin to broadcast out and share. You then join groups. And I know this is taking us out topic. The rest of you just kind of stay patient. I will get back to this whole thing because this is kind of important. If he wants to make a change for a positive change in Pennsylvania that speaks to the people, whether it's independent, I don't care. As long as I hope his message is good one. And as long as it gets Democrats, that's all that matters to me because they have lost their ever loving mind. They have gone crazy. But you go to StreamYard, go to getstreamyard.live and you get the pro plan. You're able to broadcast out. Then you join groups and you share, which happens to me quite often, like Carol and Amy and a friend of mine named April. They share my broadcast to other groups of people. California for Trump. Murica is another one. It's an organization that's mostly conservatives. I'm sure there's a lot of independent groups and that kind of stuff. And you begin to share out. And then you tell people, if you know anybody in Pennsylvania that wants to know a politician who believes in a different way of doing things, that wants to be a politician to the people, not the old stodgy old Democrats who is the party of slavery, and not the Republicans who also do not have a great history with some issues, but of an independent, then make sure and share my message to them. And that's one way of doing it, and it can be an effective way of doing it. But you have to find the right groups, local groups. And maybe even national groups that will help because everybody knows somebody, right? Everybody knows somebody that's in some other place. Another thing that I do, and this is, again, not a way to make money, but I'm telling you, if you go to joinmelive.live for $9. Oh, shoot, I have to change the price. You're lucky because tonight it's still $9.99. So $9.99. I have a training program that teaches you how to do what I'm doing. Right. So that's the easy way of doing that. And so that is it. I hope that helps you. All right. Go to joinmelive.live. I have a training program that teaches you how to do what I'm doing. And then you go to StreamYard to get StreamYard, and you go to getStreamYard.live to get StreamYard so you can use this platform that I'm using and begin to share your message and what it is you do. In the training program, I teach you how to do it in a way that, putting together a show flow, choosing your words carefully to really begin to lay out your plan and what it is you want to do. Don't be hodgepodge, and don't try to throw out random acts of content. Random acts of content will make people, I do that all the time, by the way. I'm telling you not to do what I do. Don't throw out random acts of content. Be very clear in your messaging. And don't do this. I don't know what's going on with my camera, but it's going out of focus, and I have autofocus turned off. All right. So in helping him, I think it's important, that I took the time to help. Again, as long as it's a legitimate question, I don't mind helping. And so I'm not sure how this message that I'm putting out, other than helping all of you to understand and to be a little bit more forgiving in some instances. And most everybody that watches this show has common sense and understands that. If you share this out, I'm hoping the people that are kind of like, oh, I don't like seeing that he got shot 7 times in the back. I don't like seeing that this guy was naked and had a hood put on him. Oh, you have these people that are kind of like, oh, I love cops, but I don't like seeing what they do. Maybe this message will reach somebody and say, all right, I get it. There's no way. I'm telling you, I did it for 21 years, and I've taught police officers all over the world for over 30 years now. And I've testified in court cases, about 100 court cases. I've reviewed about 1,000 court cases in regard to police use of force. And I can tell you that it just simply is never going to be pretty. When you're breaking arms, when you're using chokeholds and carotid restraints, we still in the business we call it chokeholds, but when we use it, it's called a restraint. A carotid restraint is a less lethal way of taking somebody to custody. It rarely causes any damage or death. I'm just telling you, the way that the media and politicians are using it is a knee on the neck is not a chokehold, by the way. A lawfully, legally, safely applied carotid restraint is safe. It happens thousands of times a day to people all over the world. Maybe more than maybe 1 million times a day. In every dojo, every MMA training facility where they teach you how to grapple, they're using a carotid restraint, which is also known sometimes as a chokehold. Do you hear a bunch of people dying? Is there like an epidemic of people dying from carotid restraints? No, because when it's used properly, it is a less lethal use of force that allows you to get somebody in handcuffs in a very strategic way. And it is a very good tool. Now, when you don't do a chokehold correctly and you use it actually as the word suggests that you're choking them, then it can be deadly. It's two different things. All right. And so I'm kind of glad that I went on this because it's one of those things that are being taken away that now you don't have a way. You're going to skip from trying to restrain him to shooting him because you no longer have the carotid restraint. It's been taken out in many police departments where it cannot be used at all. And without having that, like without having shields, without having pepper balls, without having tear gas, without having canine, without having what other less lethal? Detroit was they took a lot of less lethal things away. That now what do? You go from nothing to shooting. You've left nothing in between, or you've left that we don't need cops. Cops just go away, and cops stop existing. That we just take our chances and hope that somebody's not going to kill us when we go outside, because now cops are necessary. Defunding and dismantling is it's psychotic. It's simply psychotic without understanding that when having something on video, and the cops are the ones that have to have a dash cam and a body cam to see all this going on. And you've asked for it. You've asked to see what we do and what we have to do to try to take somebody into custody that's on PCP. It's not fun. It's not fun for us either. We go, oh, he's on PCP and we got to arrest him because he's going to hurt himself or hurt somebody else. That was my last point, and I want to make sure. Oh, the video's over. And I did want to end on this, and I almost forgot. that arresting people, if they would not resist and fight with this, quite often is a way of keeping them alive and keeping them safe, because they are a danger to themselves. At some point, somebody's going to kill them. If we don't arrest somebody on PCP and take them to a place where they can recover and be in a safe place, it could be a padded cell, right? It could be actually a straitjacket. It could be to a mental health ward. All is a 5150. When you 5150 somebody, it is for their welfare as much as it's for anybody else's welfare. Arresting somebody that's under the influence of a narcotic or is drunk off their ass, it's both to protect the citizens and to keep them alive, because they will get killed. They will die. They will jump off a building. They will put themselves in a position where somebody else has to protect themselves and has to kill them. It's for the good of the arrestee and the victim, the potential victim, at the hands of somebody who's out of control. And in some cases, like I said, I have 2 cases of people on PCP that I arrested that also died. It's not my fault that they died. They died because they were on PCP and they made a choice to be on PCP. And the only way to hook them up in a way that we could actually transport them from one place to the next is by tying their hands and feet together. We didn't have the hood. They still died. The hood had nothing to do with that guy dying. What killed him was the PCP. It wasn't the cops that killed him. It was, and I know what they made it a homicide. I know. But again, you have people that they're making decisions based both on a political bent that they have, a political thought and thought process that they have. And they sometimes hate cops. And that is what some of these decisions are being based on, not based on fact. I'm telling you, I will tell that medical examiner, it's the PCP that killed him. And I'm not a medical doctor. And you're going to say, well, of course you're not. And that's why you can't make that determination. I know. But I'm telling you, I've been around enough people that have been on PCP that they die from the PCP. They do. If they take so much that it gets them into that position where you have to hog tie them, or else you can't do anything with them. You can't transport them. You can't. And sometimes you have to kind of push them down, because they will always try to get up and they will hurt themselves. If sometimes you're not holding them down, they will flop around like a fish and they will hurt themselves. And then if that happens, then you're still blaming the cop. The cop it's a no-win. And that's why I'm shocked. Other than I know cops are making some crazy overtime right now. They are making bank. I'm telling you, if you hate cops and what you're doing, you think you're hurting the cops that are still going out there, you are making them rich. I'm just telling you, these cops are getting new boats. They're getting Sea-Doos. They're getting snowmobiles. They're getting a house, another like a cabin. They're getting land near the river. They're getting some stuff. Their baby mama's getting a brand new ring. There's all kinds of stuff happening. This happened. Cops are making an amazing amount of money right now, even in the lousy cities where they don't get paid. They're getting paid double time. That's the only thing that I can reason why they're still going to work and do it, because they're going, I work my patrol duty and now I'm going out to the riot area. Because you understand that they still have to work patrol, right? You still have a bunch of cops that are working patrol or the desk or detectives. And it's after their normal shift that they're going out and working another 6 to 12 hours, and they're working on their days off. And let's say they're making $65 an hour, and so they're doubling that an hour. And so thanks to BLM and Antifa, you're making cops rich. Just so you know. Now, you may be hurting them here and there and that kind of stuff, but you're making them rich, I'm telling you. And then some of these cops are going to retire on a medical retirement now. And now they're going to be able to go into their life without, and now having to work because now they have a medical retirement. And for the rest of their lives, they're going to get paid their salary for the rest. So you're doing your thing. The only thing I'm saying, cops are still risking their livelihood because if they have to shoot somebody or hurt somebody, they're going to either be sued, they're going to be arrested, and at minimum, they will lose their job because of having to protect themselves. If they have to protect themselves, there's a chance, there's a really, really good chance they're going to be arrested or fired. All right, my friends, if you have any other questions, go ahead and submit them now, and I can answer any questions. And I think I hopefully I helped Dark. I would change, another thing I would do, I would change your your name on your Twitch. Dark Sage. It may be fine. I'm just saying maybe it's something happier, nicer, maybe better. And so that's another suggestion. And I hope I help you with your question. Amy, I don't know, Carol ever came on. She never answered, so she's probably night. I see a lot of people watch it, but there are not a lot of comments are coming up. Just everybody just is so stunned on my subject matter. They're just so enthralled in what it is I'm saying. So again, just understand that this is going to continue because it's never going to be pretty. As long as there's video, we're going to continue to have riots. We're going to continue to have protests. We're going to continue to have all this stuff happening because now that we have to have video, right? They're wondering why the cops in Wisconsin, what's the name of the city, Amy? Kenosha, Canola Bar in Wisconsin, why they didn't have body cams. It's because they've asked for them, but they never were. They were put in the budget. And so that's why they don't have them. But now you can pretty much bet every police department is going to have a body cam and a dash cam. And from this point on, anytime you see somebody dying at the hands of law enforcement because they resist Kenosha, thank you. Thank you, Amy, is that they are, it's not going to be pretty and there's going to be rioting. It's just the way it is. This is how it's going to be. And it's never going to change. There's no way to make it not violent. It's violent. Fighting with somebody who's violent is violent. I don't know what to tell you. And that's the way it is. All right, my friends, I appreciate you very much. I love you for watching. Please share. Please. Oh, subscribe. I knew there was one other thing. My podcasts are all up. So if you go to any one of the major podcasting platforms, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcast, if you would just visit them all, especially go to iHeartRadio first, go there, subscribe, go to all of them. I have 3 different podcasts. One's a dog training, one's for health and wellness, and one is this one, the Andy Falco Show. That's the one I really would love for you to subscribe to if you can. And then if you would like to, do the other 2. I've had people already say, I've done all 3. But if you type in Andy Falco, you probably will find all 3, no matter what platform you go to. Again, whether it's Spotify or iHeartRadio. iHeartRadio is the number 1 place right now, I think, still currently. And then you have Apple Podcasts, of course. And then there's a bunch of others. But you should be able to find them. All right, my friends. I love you. Thank you. God bless. And I will talk to you later.